Good evening. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designated time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We are using an electronic amplifying and recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record, and request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of the minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Present.
Mrs. Winters.
She had a family emergency.
Mr. Mignon.
Here.
Mrs. Strada. Here. Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Lechner. Chief Earl.
Here.
Mr. Carlemere.
Here.
Mr. Cantwell.
Here.
Mr. Cardis.
Here.
We have our first public portion. This public portion is for agenda items only. Anyone wishing to speak, please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Surgeon Tony Blackwood. I wanted to ask about the $4 million. What is that going to be used for?
Excuse me?
Did you say something here about? When I looked at the agenda, it says something about borrowing money for green space, open space.
Number 307, that's a resolution to accept a loan or a grant from the state of New Jersey
Yes.
from the Department of Environmental Protection and Green Acres program. This could be either or. It could be a grant in the amount of, bear with me for 1 second, of $4,091,218, or a loan for $334,899. This is used for open space acquisitions for an open space and recreation plan for the township. Mr. Carson, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't believe it's designated for anything at this point in time, but we have to pass the resolution in order to have access to these funds.
So you're not actually planning right now on borrowing or
No, I don't-
applying for the grant? You're
No, I
not,
don't
you're
believe-
not planning on doing anything at this
I don't
point?
believe we filled an application out yet. Mr. Leckman could clarify that, but unfortunately not yet.
So this isn't any additional monies that the township will be spending this year that would add to our taxes?
It's going to, the major portion of it is a grant.
But how about the portion that's not a grant?
That would be a low interest loan.
And we're
You are
talking,
going to, you are, I'm
This is-
confused, you are, you're not going to borrow
it
the
could be
money?
either or. It could be a grant in an excess of $4 million, or it could be a loan for $334,000.
When will you decide? When will you know, or when do you decide whether it's going to be a loan or a grant?
Well, that's through their grant application program with Mr. Lechner. You said Mr. Lechner, you're not sure if he's applied for it as of yet?
I don't know the status, I'm sorry.
This is something that we've applied for in the past. We received monies for it to acquire open space throughout the township.
But you don't have any open space in mind that you're planning on using this for?
At this point, I have not been aware of anything designated that we're deeming to purchase.
Mr. Mercado, if we don't pass this,
it will prevent us from,
To have
Having
access
access.
to grant money and loan money.
so we don't have to do anything.
No.
But if we don't pass this.
So
we
this is
can't.
basically just keeping the channel open in case at
Yes.
some point you decide that you want to borrow or you want to get the grant.
That's
That's
correct.
So
Ms.
it's
Armstrong.
basically keeping an application open.
Yes.
But it's not definitive, you're doing this tomorrow to buy a parking lot
Right.
somewhere or something.
No.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Ms. Carter?
Lynn Clark, Timber Birch. On the same subject, I was reading in the explanation, should we get a grant when the time comes? It could be a matching grant so that we would not be given the full 4 million. We might have to come up with 2 million on our own, correct?
If it's a matching share, if it indicates that there's a matching share, we would have to come up with a certain amount of dollars. It's up to $4 million that we can apply for.
We can apply for $4 million, and usually with matching, it's like half. I think. I could be.
But we're not committed to any dollar amount.
No, well, I'm like, you're leaving it open.
Yes.
So that when the time comes, you can do this. I'm wondering if any matching funds are required. It also said that if whatever came from the state wasn't sufficient, that we would have enough to cover the whole project. Where are we getting the funds to finish this project? Where are we getting the funds for the loan if we don't do the grant? Should we decide to do this?
Well, we don't have a particular project in mind at this point. So when you ask the question, this is for an open application process, Ms. Carr.
I
It's
got
an
it.
open application process that allows us the opportunity to either receive a grant or a loan,
Right.
a low interest loan. When we talk low interest loan, we like one or even lower than that, Tom?
I don't recall the exact percent, but it's very low.
So there's not a particular project that we're seeking this money
I
for.
understand that.
I think the question might be if we were,
Should we ever get to use the application?
where would we get money?
Where
from?
would funding come from to pay our portion of the burden?
Well, we would have open space money.
You could
Use open space money?
Open space, yes.
Isn't the open space money already spoken for at this point between?
I would say half of it.
Half of that.
For a period of time.
On an annual basis, at least for the next 10 years.
For an annual basis, when we were talking about the turf fields, we were saying we're going to be paying on them for X number of years. If there's still monies available annually, can't we pay in advance? Can't we bump up what we're paying? You were saying we collect 2% for open space every year.
2 cents.
2 cents. I never get that, Tom. I'm sorry, but it's 2 cents on 100, right? Okay. So you collect that from everybody every year. Are we using at this time all of the monies we collect each year for open space?
I would say yes, we are. Yes.
So if we're using all of the monies we collect,
If not, we're coming close to using it all.
okay. So if we're using all of the monies that we collect at this point, how can we take on down the road another burden unless something is being paid off?
For priorities, I mean, there are things that you cannot do, okay? If half of it's spoken for, the other half could be used for a variety of different things on a variety of different periods.
Except for the fact that Tom said a good portion of it is used.
I'm speaking about what took place in 2016.
So we will
We
be,
have some money left.
Uh-huh.
It's probably in the neighborhood of about $100,000. I consider that to be spending it down to almost that level.
where does the money that is not used in a given year go? It's been allocated. Where does it go? It's been collected. Where
It
does it?
stays in the account. It stays in the open the recreation open space account. It doesn't lapse to anything.
What you don't want to do, Joanne, is you don't want to rush to spend every dollar because you're afraid you're not going to be able to justify getting those dollars in the future. So if it comes to a point where it would be better utilized holding off for this second period, and there's something you want to get done, that's what you do. I'm not necessarily opposed to what you're suggesting, though, which is paying more on it. But again, by doing that, you handcuff yourself if you know that there's something you want to do in the future. So you got to weigh these things.
Okay, you're saying that monies that are left over go into the fund. Do you happen to know how much money is in the fund not being utilized at this point?
My guess would be about 100,000, but again, I can't say that won't be earmarked for something before the end of the year. If it's still in the fund, it goes in with the additional money that we will collect in 2017.
Okay, I think. Thank you.
Again, this resolution is allowing us to have access to these funds, which the state has deemed should be available to us. We've passed resolutions like this before where we had access if we wanted to build out. This is not saying we're doing a $4 million purchase.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Miss, you had your hand up?
Yes, it is. Okay. Hi, I'm Carolyn Grace, Hampshire Road and Brittany Woods. I'm listening to some of the other issues, but I'm specifically here about what I consider to be like a forgotten community, a part of Gloucester Township. So I do have a memo with some of my concerns. I can just kind of
Before you continue,
Yeah.
can you say that for the second public portion? It's not an agenda item.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to, but I do want to ask you about, since I was hearing about the grant, how do you allocate 10% of that? Can you allocate that to other places, since I'm listening to the grant that you're about to get? I'm going to hear more about it, but are you allowed to allocate that to different parts if you want to?
It has to go for acquisition.
Okay.
Acquisition of land.
Okay, all of it, 100% of it?
Yes.
Okay, what type of
You
land?
can't use it to build playground structure or construct a baseball field or any of that stuff. It has to be acquisition money.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Ryan Baines, Laurel Hills. 305 with the cameras. Do you know how many cameras, surveillance cameras, are going to go in place?
May defer to the chief. I believe it's going to be
Mr. Barnes?
3.
Okay. You want to answer that?
Sorry. You want me to answer or no?
Well, you can go ahead, sir. Just start.
I believe it's 3 cameras.
Oh, just 3 cameras?
For the, I don't really know if we know because it's going to go out to bid, so they'd have to design it. So, it's for a couple of the parks. I mean, it would really depend on the vendors putting that bid in. I mean, some may have different options and wireless, and it really depends on the technology that they come back with.
And it's only like 3 cameras, or? Oh, 3 locations.
3 locations.
There's
yeah.
3 locations to cover.
Okay. What locations? Do we have a really bad crime problem, or?
No, not at all. It's
No?
not really, I mean, the cameras are just another opportunity to observe the parks that, we can only patrol them so much.
Yeah.
We've had, many instances really of just minor issues, even people being in the parks when they're not supposed to be.
Okay.
So we patrol them, but we can't be there all the time. And
I
there's
know-
some other added benefits.
I know the
and
lights
so forth.
are an issue in some of the parks, that it's really dark in the park, and, you have the kids come up there and smoke in there, and the cops aren't always around, so maybe the cameras will be a good item to have. I thought it was going to be more throughout the township, like in the hundreds. I heard it wrong,
No,
so.
it's specifically.
Okay.
Big Brother is not coming to
Yeah.
the
Yeah, no problem.
It's primarily to cover the turf fields.
Oh, the turf fields.
It allows us to protect our investment as long as
Okay.
it's field.
Now, about the turf fields, is there any, I know there's a lot of spending in our township.
All right,
Is-
sir, is this
yeah.
an agenda item?
No.
All right, then we'll save the
Okay.
second public portion. Thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Mr. Polidoro.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro.
Good evening.
from the historic village of Ariel. On the question of the grant or loan, you're passing what would be classified as an open-ended resolution. Could be a loan, could be a grant. By doing so, if it winds up not being a grant and winds up being a loan, will you come back before the public again and put before the public how much money you're going to borrow again? Or will, by passing this resolution, you already have that approval for the loan?
With that, if we receive any grant money, it has to be inserted into the budget. So there's a resolution, excuse me, if it's a loan, correct?
So
Any type of monies that we receive, it has to be inserted into the budget.
there's a lot more that has to take place for us to tap into these funds. We have to make an application. We also have to approve a bond ordinance for the loan portion, which would be reviewed by the local finance board. So we would need Green Acres approval. Any property we're looking at would have to have 2 Green Acre approved appraisals. So when we know whatever we're paying is correct. And again, yes, it would have to come back to this council for amendments.
Okay, would it already be pre-approved under the passing of this resolution tonight? Or will it be a new resolution for the borrowing that we would get public input? Could you move your microphone a little closer? It's a little hard to hear you. Or I'm getting more hard to hear. It's all right.
Again, an application would have to be made to Green Acres, so they would have to approve that. So you would see a resolution making the application in a future time.
Which would include a dollar amount, would have a public portion again. And that's all I'm asking is that,
But we would make the application, and then that would trigger Green Acres making an approval for the appraisals. And so that would be the next step to get the appraisal of whatever property.
what makes the determination as to whether the grant is not quite enough that we would need to borrow it? Keeping in mind that grant money is still taxpayer money coming from other sources other than just here. When that portion comes to where you're deciding the grant does suffice and covers what we need or we're borrowing, when is that determination made? Because apparently you don't have an objective other than to keep this avenue open, correct?
I can't tell you how the financing would be constructed. That would be through Green Acres.
I guess my next question would be, is there a time factor on this? Why this is needing to be introduced tonight and passed tonight? Why this avenue is not going to be open if you don't move forward with this tonight?
I would imagine with any type of program that's offered through, and this is offered through the Environmental Protection Agency, through the state, that there are timelines.
Would the language be able to be changed in that where you could go forward on prospective grant and leave out loan in that resolution tonight? It keeps our opportunity wide open for grant and at least closes the door on borrowing more money. Is that something that you might consider tonight before you pass this?
It's an either or on the application process. I think I like to keep my options open by one of 7.
For borrowing?
For borrowing or for a grant.
Is this the same thing we do every year?
This is something we've done. We've acquired
Yes.
parcels of land, the Lemonstruck property, the property over in Glendora, across from the Gabriel Davies Tavern. This is a process that we've gone through before.
And to
And
answer,
yes, and I don't want to say because we've done this before, that's why we do it. It's an opportunity to apply. This is an avenue. It's an application. It provides us an application, the ability to apply to the Department of Environmental Protection. It's not a project that I know of that we're putting $4 million or $350,000 towards. Nothing. It's an avenue.
interesting. And to answer Mr. Hutchinson's comment, yeah, you do it all the time. And we're kind of in debt a lot because of that. My other question would be concerning the cameras. I did have a conversation with the chief, and I'm well aware that the surveillance, to some extent, is not quite what it looked like in the newspapers, which looked like we had a fortress of cameras all over the place. That being said, though, tonight you're putting forth a resolution that because it's over $40,000, we get to hear about it. But it doesn't say how much. It doesn't even give us a ballpark other than by passing this resolution, you're going to say that we're going to spend above $40,000. Do you have an objective? Do you have a target amount? And what is that amount? And is it truly necessary to spend that on these cameras right now?
This is the advertising for bids for surveillance cameras. We're advertising for companies or vendors to put in a bid for surveillance cameras. If we don't like the bids, we can reject the bids. But we're going advertising for bids. It doesn't have the dollar amount on it. We don't know what the bids will come in. Just
Well-
like a construction project. You put out the bid, what comes back, that gets evaluated. You don't like the bids, you throw them out and you rebid.
Okay, but at least the minimal information we know tonight is that 3 cameras are going to cost above $40,000. 3 locations are going to cost above. Yeah, I just clarified that. 3 monitoring locations are going to cost above $40,000.
We don't, Ray, it sounds like you're trying to get something you can type on a website, okay? We have turf fields, we have a park, we spent a lot of money on those things.
We spend a lot of money on them, Dan.
That's what I said, we spent a lot of money on these things. You, me, the rest of the townspeople. What we're trying to do is ensure that we can protect these investments. We don't know how much the cameras are going to cost. So what we want to do is send out a request for bids and evaluate them when they come in.
I would agree that protecting the investments are a good idea, but each time we pay a lot of money for investments or borrow for investments, it costs more money, and everything we do behind it, it's just a river that keeps flowing. That it's a lot of money. Everything costs a lot of money, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that the township is having some money issues. Any given development, including your own, is seeing more vacant homes. People just leaving, just picking up and leaving. And this year was an exceptional year. 12% was tough for a lot of people to take. It finally got some people up. It finally hurt bad enough. So looking at the dollars spent, what's necessary, what's needed? We're spending an additional $40,000 on top of over $3 million to turf the fields.
We haven't spent the dime yet, right? We haven't spent the dime.
Well, we borrowed quite a bit of money to put the turf fields down, and
We're looking to find out how much it would
We're
cost.
protecting our
Mr.
investment.
Potter, do you have anything else to add? Your time's been up.
well, it is what it is. And the questions I need to ask, and it was
Anything else to add, sir?
it was a dialogue.
Okay.
Keep giving the bums rush, Orlando. You're doing a great job.
Ray, thank you. Have a good evening. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the first public portion. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add the fact that we've heard someone say already there's some behaviors in the park that aren't quite safe. I think this goes beyond investment. I think it also becomes a safety issue as we're going to have more and more activity in the park, I believe. So I think it's important that we recognize that safety is also an issue. And I'm glad that you brought that up because that is a factor also when you have cameras.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I appreciate that. Proclamation. Proclamation, Lung Cancer Awareness Month 2016. Whereas lung cancer is caused by uncontrollable growth of abnormal cells in the lungs, and whereas 10 to 15% of lung cancer cases occur in people who have never smoked, and over 90% of lung cancer deaths are caused by smoking, and whereas people diagnosed with lung cancer have only a 16% 5-year survival rate, and whereas Gloucester Township is committed to making lung cancer a public health priority, supporting advocacy work on behalf of lung cancer patients and all those at risk for the disease, and offering support and care for all those in our community affected by lung cancer, and whereas it is vital to those affected by lung cancer have access to affordable care, and that research of all forms of lung cancer continues to be rigorously supported. Now therefore, I, David Mayer, and I, Orlando Mercado, President of Council, do hereby recognize November 2016 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month in the Township of Gloucester, and I call attention to all of the Township residents. Dated November 14, 2016.
Waive the reading and accept the minutes of regular meeting October 24th, executive session minutes October 24th, November workshop.
I entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Is there something?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the question, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hutchison? Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs?
I abstain.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Abstain.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Now we have our resolutions of consent agenda. Before I ask any council member if they want to pull any of these agenda items off, I want you to note Resolution 16:11-303, authorizing the soliciting of RFQs via the Gloucester Township website for various professional services. I would like to add tax appeal consultant to the list of solicitations of RFQs. So with that amendment, entertain, does anyone would like to accept as amended? Yes, as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes,
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Three oh nine, resolution authorizing renewal of retail consumption liquor license in the Township of Gloucester.
Entertain the motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. On the question, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
310, resolution authorizing renewal of retail consumption liquor license in the Township of Gloucester.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the question, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes, we did not receive any GT.
I just want to make sure that we did this right. On the, I moved for the amendment. Did we vote on the entire consent agenda?
Well, I think, yes, I had asked for a motion to amend the consent agenda
Okay.
with the amendment on.
Very good, thank you. Just want to make sure. Okay.
We did not receive any GT Gov access emails. We'll open up the second public portion. I'm going to ask my friend from Hampshire, then Mr. Danes, you'll be second, okay?
Again, Carolyn Grace, I'm on Hampshire Road.
Again, Ms. Grace?
Carolyn Grace from Hampshire Road.
Welcome.
And since perception can be cruel sometimes, and I'm not in my power suit, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me.
Okay.
I have a master's degree in leadership, a master's degree in social work. I have a principal cert, a social worker cert, a teacher in psychology, and among other things. And I just moved back to this community because I want to make a difference. My love is social work. And I began to I came here and spoke back in August, and I had a chance to connect with Officer Jen McLaughlin. She's a wonderful lady. I've been working with her ever since. We've met at Timber Creek at one point, and then we began to branch off a little bit, and one of my goals was to come up with a community action group. I started with about 10 names, and I kept texting everyone in a group to see who really was serious about getting Brittany Woods great again, okay? I ended up down to 5. We did a walkthrough, a talk and walk to look at the abandoned houses in Brittany Woods. We then went and sat and had a little coffee and talked about the changes we needed to make or wanted to make, and we need your support. That's why we're here. I have Ms. Shirley Johnson here with me, and she may want to speak. I'm not sure, but I did type up a memo to present to you, and I didn't make a lot of copies, but I made a few. So, I don't know. Again, I just want to thank Jen because we did put up a few light posts, one on Hampshire and I think another one on Wiltshire. We also, Jen also met with the mayor, which discussed the trash pickup and the recycling, and she did incorporate that happening every week instead of every 2 weeks, or every 2 weeks, as I know. I want to thank her for that. She told me she couldn't be here tonight. She has some other things to do, but those are 2 things, and I'm grateful because small progress is good progress. But there's much to be done, and again, we have our group established. We established it yesterday. We did walk and see how many vacant homes was on Hampshire, which, as you can see, there are several, and we did look at them to see that there's trash and things like that, leaves and things like that that need to be taken care of. The other things that, I know that Shirley also has a list, because what we did with our group is we gave a street block captain for each street. So we have someone monitoring each street with concerns. Also, this morning, I actually went to 2 of those homes and pulled down the trash myself, because I don't know what the landlords are doing or what that property entails, but I did that myself and spoke with the sanitary department and asked them, how long was that there? And all they could do was shake their heads and say, a long time. And they were happy to just take that trash because it had been there so long. So they kind of broke protocol a little bit for me to do that, but I, told them, that we will follow protocol from this forth on. Now, our committee will meet the same time you guys meet, so that we can bring these concerns to the council about this neighborhood and how to make it better and what are the concerns. I know Ms. Shirley has a big concern about the kids and what their activities are. I don't see them on Hampshire. She says she sees them on Berkshire. They used to hang on Hampshire when I used to live there many years ago, but now that I'm back, we don't see them. I don't see them on Hampshire, so apparently they must have moved over. She has some activities that we want to schedule for the upcoming, maybe in the spring, because now it's getting cold and things are going to change. But we have some activities, and my goal, and I don't know what Shirley, she's has the same concerns, but a few different concerns than I have. My concern to the council is, how will you help us in making this a good project and bringing us to a point where we look like many of the surrounding neighborhoods that's around us? What can you do?
Okay. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I can't. I think that's where I'm at, because there's projects we're working on now. But for now, what else can you do? Is there anything else you can do to help us in our community?
When you came to council at the end of July, and you talked about some of the, you talked about leaf pickups. That was an issue that you were having, and that has been rectified?
No, not all, as a walkthrough. No, as I walk through, there are still some things that. And the question, do we need to always call, or do they know, they see that in street cleanup? And Shirley, you sure you don't want to come up here and speak? Okay. That was a conversation in the group text today about, they talk about the street cleanup, but it never happens. Is that a regular thing, or is that something we have to call? Because I have no problem with calling for things that need to be done, as long as they get done. We're about action. We're not about.
I would ask you that if you do see something or you're in need, as when you came here in July, you talked about the street sweeper not coming through Brittany Woods.
Yes.
And I believe that at that point there was a scheduled sweeping done in Brittany Woods.
Yes.
One of the issues, as you well know, and I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, is that we unfortunately have a lot of absentee landlords that are renting out properties there. And as I'm sure you and Miss Shirley are homeowners there, and you care about your properties. Unfortunately, when absentee landlords have individuals that are renting their properties, they don't show, unfortunately, the same type of care for their properties as homeowners would. I think this is a wonderful step that you're taking. I wouldn't mind coming by on your Sunday coffee, tea, sit, and talk. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind coming out and walking the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Because here's the thing: there are neighborhoods in our community that people talk about, and there's some challenges in certain neighborhoods. But there are very good people in those particular neighborhoods, and there's some people who are just stuck because unfortunately they're not going to be able to resell their home.
Yes.
And get the value that they get elsewhere.
Exactly.
And one of the things when I go throughout the town and go in different neighborhoods and see that, and when we have people like you, Ms. Graves, that come here and identify this and take an active interest, that warms my heart.
Thank you.
I have no problem going out there and meeting with your group or in the area, but I know some of the challenges that are there, but some of the challenges too, And we had this issue when I first got on council, I think Dan, you were here too, about 10 years ago, about some of the breezeways and the easements.
Yes.
Where they were cut-throughs. And Mayor Love, I was at the mayor at the time, so Dan, you were not on council. Mayor Love was the mayor at the time, and there was an effort to close off some of those throughways because there was activity that was taking place that was not productive to the neighborhood.
Right.
Harry, do you remember that, Chief Earl?
Yep.
Yes.
And every couple of years there was, okay, let's have an effort to clean this area, then it falls to the wayside. But I do like the fact that you're involving your community, and I would have no problem myself going out there and touring it and see how we can help you and identifying certain areas. The vacant home that you've identified here, that's something that we would bring to Public Works to make them aware of it. We do have a neighborhood enhancement program.
Yes,
That if there's
we should talk
particular
about.
areas that, or buildings that need to be spruced up or taken care of so it doesn't cause any type of public hazard to the community, then we'll ask you to identify those to us.
Okay.
In addition to that, let's see. I'm looking at your activities for kids.
Yes.
You can do arts and craft. No, I don't know what.
Well, I was, again, my first love is social work, and you're trained to be about action, and you're trained to think about things you can do. And I know that being in education, sometimes, I think this is a part of curriculum, I'm pretty sure that community service is a part of that. But as Shirley had mentioned to me about the kids in Brittany Woods, they're not bad kids, they're kids that look for things to do. So whether there was a drill team or someone in my group that was willing to take on and help those kids get organized play instead of unconstructive play, there's a lot of things we can do, but we need to talk, and we all need to get together and really support each other so we can change this neighborhood. I've owned that house for 30 years, almost 28 years, but to come to that last council meeting in July and watch everybody's taxes go up, and then I pull mine up and they went down, I noticed that I lost $20,000 in equity over a year and a half. I went there, I revitalized that, and it was 87 in value, and now it's only 40 something. So when you have that and you want your property value, if having a house that's boarded up doesn't look good. And if someone comes through there and drive and say, you know what, I'd rather be a homeowner instead of renting and paying $800, I can buy a house for $50,000 and pay $250 a month. Sure they would, but they won't do it if they see the neighborhood so trashy. I, again, couldn't even bring a guest to my house because I was embarrassed about the trash on the street, and it stayed that way for like 3 days. It was an overflow of plastic cans in those little yellow cans. And Jen explained to me why we couldn't have the big pink trash cans like everyone else. And I get it. I do. I really do. But again, what can we do to make that change? How can we keep the trash off the street? I literally will keep a plastic bag in my car, and if I see something, I stop and I pick it up. And that's why I want block captains, and that's why I would like to see more people involved, and that's why we're working on putting flyers in mailboxes and coming up with incentives to keep the neighborhood clean, raffles or whatever we need to do to get our community together. I know you talked about having a power washer. I'm just about action. So whatever we need to do to make it look better, and I think that it will trickle down, like it will trickle when someone else sees their neighbor clean. It doesn't matter whether you're a renter, it doesn't matter if you're a homeowner. I think you can have the same values if you see your neighbors. But if you see 5 neighbors not cutting their grass, you know what? Why should you cut your grass? You see 1 neighbor, but if you see 10 neighbors cutting their grass, it's a different story. Now you look like the oddball in the neighborhood. So it's about coming together and showing. I think that if neighbors see that the council and the township wants to support us, that we're not a lost community, or we're not, just renters, I think that we can get things done. It's not that large of an area to make a difference, and it just seems simple to me. That's all.
Let's continue the conversation, okay? And,
yes.
I have your memo. I'll make
Thank
sure
you.
that the mayor has that. Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes, I spoke to the mayor too. He had a nice conversation with me on behalf of Donna Ellison, and we talked about repaving the streets for something that I don't know if it's just a long-term goal, but he talked about making the streets look better.
We are receptive to what you're doing.
Thank you.
Whatever we can do, if we can do it, we'll do it.
Thank you. I hope there's some money somewhere because 4 million, and I've done budgets and we've always been able to allocate money, 10% somewhere else and, so let's see. But I'm patient, so we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bates.
Back to the open space. Are we able to use some of that money for open space we already have to generate a better park or whatever through open space that we already have? Can we?
We use some of our open space money for the maintenance of the parks that we have here.
Yeah.
And some of the activities, ancillary activities that are associated with that. But Tom, we would be able to use that, correct?
Absolutely. We're talking about the open space.
Open space,
Yeah.
not green acres, open space.
Okay. So we could use some of that grant to put back into the open space we already have, possibly, right?
No.
Not the grant
We
that
can't
you were
use
talking
it.
about applying for. So open space that we collect each year, excuse me.
So it'd be a new grant, we would have to buy a new acre, new fields or
Yes.
For
whatever.
acquisition of.
Okay. And is there anything we could generate money from open space? Is there any ways of generating money from the open space we have? Like either a farm or trees or?
The problem with that
Okay.
is if a property is on the ROSI list, which is the Recreation Open Space Inventory List,
Okay.
and that's recognized by Green Acres, you are forbidden from making any money without returning that money back to Green Acres.
Okay, so you'd have to return it back to that fund. And about the cameras, I don't know if we have it in place, like a Craigslist, like a meeting place or anything like that. Do we have, you know of anything?
Good.
We're just about to launch that actually. So
Okay.
in our foyer, we have space, but
Yeah.
you'll see that coming out soon. So
Okay,
we're
good.
waiting for the parking lot to be restriped and paved. But that's something that we're going to announce.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
definitely
And
help
we're trying
out.
to encourage, actually, we're going to try to encourage people to actually come in to the station and do it. And we're also going to market it as a custody exchange location, some issues like that, which happens a lot in the parking lot now. We might not even realize
Yeah.
it. We're going to try to encourage people to do that when they come into the station at that.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Anyone else? Ms. Sherrill?
Hello to everybody.
Hello.
My name is Shirley Johnson. And I've been in Brittany Woods since 1980. Okay, and is that Chief Earl?
Yes.
I'm the mayor, Mayor Love, Chief Stonewall. I've worked and talked to everybody about Brittany Woods. When Brittany Woods was coming, Brittany Woods was going. And now Brittany Woods is down. And like my friend Carol, I just met her. I and a couple of others were the ones that were cleaning out the gutters because no one came to clean them out. We would pick up trash. We would try to play games with the kids. And in a walk through my neighborhood, since 1980, we had 4 playgrounds. Now we have none. On my street alone, there's 26 kids. There's no place for those children to play. The children are not bad. They just have nothing to do. So what do? They vandalize property. 25 Brookshire Road was vandalized 5 times. 5. The police were called 3 times. Now the house is restored because it was one of the landmarks, one of the most beautiful townhouses on my street. And I'm looking at it saying, okay, when the officer came out, he said, Ms. Johnson, it's the parents too. The parents have to tell their children, you don't trespass, you don't destroy property. Okay, and the officers do come out. But this is not my first rodeo with you guys. I've been fighting since 1981 for someone to turn around and take a look at Brittany Woods. When you guys got that street sweeper, I remember reading it in the paper, $75,000 I think it was, and we never saw it. It's been 6 years. How come Brittany Woods doesn't get this opportunity to have the street sweeper? There's a lot of things that go on in Gloucester Township that Brittany Woods, I know for a fact, is overlooked. when you had the community enhancement program. The only reason why I know this is because I was home for 30 days and I saw a lot of things going on. I was surprised. Oh, there's that truck. That's what that's for. First time I've seen it in my community. But I've asked, I've called, I've emailed, I've faxed, and I've sent pictures, because now I have a camera. We have abandoned cars that come and park in Brittany Woods with no tags, no registration, but they sit there. Why? That wouldn't happen in any other neighborhood. So I bring it to the mayor's attention, code enforcement, Lieutenant Barton, I don't know whether he's here or not. I mean, he's been my rock because he always gets back to me. He always tries to help me. But I was very, very upset when they built Tim Creek. We were told by Mayor Love they would not destroy the tire park. The tire park was not just for Brittany Woods. That tire park had what you guys call play dates. Well, all our children met there. On Sundays, different communities would go and play baseball. Grown people would come with hot dogs, sodas, make it a day on a Sunday for kids. We had a hockey field there, a basketball, a gazebo, and it was all made of tires. And we were told that it would not be destroyed by Mayor Love. She told it to me to my face at Ann Mullen School down there on Sickleville Road, to my face. 3 months later, my daughter called me, because she used to play there too. They destroyed the park. Then they destroyed other parks in Brittany Woods. We have no place for our children to play but in the streets. And it's upsetting. We pay taxes, and I want this community, these guys, you people, whoever you are who are running our township, to get a park for my kids. That's why I'm here. They deserve a park, not playing in the streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Carr.
Dwayne Carr, Timber Birch. A suggestion, Orlando, is maybe you can help Miss Grace with Martin Luther King Day and having a day at Brittany Woods. Have it become part of Martin Luther King Day.
Ms. Carr, I would love to see you there this year.
Well, I've been other places during Martin Luther King Day.
I would love to see
I'm
you.
usually at the tavern.
I'm always looking for new projects.
I'm usually at the tavern, but I thought that might be one way you could get the community involved. Speaking of the tavern, this Sunday the tavern will be having its Christmas open house from 1 to 3. Everyone's invited. Main stage will be performing, and it should prove to be a fun time. You've been there before, so you know what I'm speaking of. And I just wanted you to be aware that it's this Sunday. And then the tavern will be closed the following week, and then the next 2 Sundays, the first 2 in December, for tours.
In addition to main stage, are the 2 schools, Glendower and Gloucester Township, singing, or just main stage?
I don't believe so. We will be having violin music in the dining room.
Oh, okay.
And we will be having main stage, I believe, outside. Okay, but it should prove to be a fun time. We also became the recipient of a wonderful gift. You know how every year we borrow George Mattio's Red Sleigh, and we have our Victorian Santa there for people to have their kids' pictures taken. Mr. Mattio donated it to the Historic Committee.
That's sweet.
So we will have it, we will house it, and you can come and get your kids and grandkids' pictures taken. So it should be a good day. So,
Thank you very much.
okay.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Kelly.
Good evening, Council. Mrs. Kelly from Stonebridge Run Townhomes. As you know, we've been discussing the situation that we're having with the Valari's Tiki Bar, and I understand that we're working through that process, and we remain appreciative of that. I just wanted to come before Council on another situation with this particular nuisance bar. Apparently, it's turning into a nightclub, a regular nightclub, at least now that the summer is over. The music has moved indoors, but again, with the amount of noise and music that is coming from this place inside. You can still hear it in terms of the vibration. And the concern that I do have is that it now apparently has appeared to become a nightclub, which according to, and I looked at the zoning, it's zoned neighborhood commercial. According to the zoning description, that's not allowed for this particular property as it's listed as neighborhood commercial. That particular definition does not allow for such activities to take place. And is that something that needs to be addressed directly with the zoning board, or is that something that council can get involved in as well as we continue along the process to correct this situation?
I think we can have Mr. Carlemere notify the proper individuals, because it's zoned as a restaurant, correct? And a banquet facility.
Yeah, so it's gone inside, but again, and they publish, again, the continuing bans for every weekend. So it's public information at this point that they are operating as a nightclub.
All right, thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Before I get to anyone else, before I get to Mr. Sweet, sorry.
Can I come up there again?
Yes, but after everyone has spoken that wants to speak first, okay?
Sam Sweet from Ariel.
Evening, Sam.
Just a quick question. Just no complaints against you guys, but the streaming sometimes goes in and out a lot, and I've had some residents like say, "Oh, well, we've seen you," but then you break up, or other people breaking up. Any chance of us getting these meetings televised,
That's a discussion that we
or upgrading the internet? One of the two.
That's a discussion we've had in the past about televising. There was a cost associated. Mr. Hutchinson had worked on that.
Frankly, I'm not in favor of it.
If I may finish.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Hutchinson had served on a committee before. We had decided to live stream it. The cost is minimal. But Mr. Carter, if you could take a look into possibly upgrading or seeing what's the issues that we have there. I don't get the complaints that you get about the streaming in and out. Maybe we travel in different circles, but I'll ask Mr. Carter to take a look at that.
Well, I know that a couple times I've watched the meetings, and it'll break up, and like all of a sudden there'll be a new person standing up here, and I'm like, well, what happened to the other person? You know, and there's no rewind button because it's live streaming, so it's like, well, what did I miss if I can't make a meeting? That's why I'm trying to make all the meetings now, but, you know, I've come across people that say the same exact thing, so.
Okay. We'll take a look into it, Mr. Sweet.
But now, if I can go back, why are you against televised meetings?
Well, I don't like I think that the broadcast they have right now for the schools, I think is good. And I think when you mix these types of meetings on that, I just think it degrades that. So I think that this is a very good way of communicating this to the population. Everybody pretty much has cell phones, computers, and if they want to tune in, just tune in.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you very
Thanks.
much. Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, I just have a question. Excuse me. That I thought I would just bring to your attention. Could you explain to me why we have no sidewalks in Brittany Woods?
Why you have no sidewalks in Brittany Woods?
We have none.
Okay.
I know about the easements, I know about the 25 feet and all like that. I just want to know, you know, when they built Brittany Woods, did you guys really sit down and think about it, or was it just because it was like for low income and it really didn't require that much thought?
Ms. Johnson, I was 8 years old when they, or 7 years old when they built Brittany Woods and did not live here. However,
I'm still here.
So when you say we guys, none of us that.
Well, you represent me, so you are you
Yes,
guys.
But no, I'm going to correct you. We weren't here at the time that was built. The majority of these developments in the southern part of the town did not have sidewalks put in. At the time, that was developers that had developed those parcels of land did not include it. Those areas weren't heavily trafficked areas back then. What we had done, I served on the planning board for close to 9 years, and Mr. Hutchinson serves on the planning board now. And anytime there's any type of development that's taking place, there is a requirement for sidewalks, or the developer contributes funds to a sidewalk account, which could be utilized to create sidewalks for that particular development. Mr. Carlemere has been here for some time. Maybe Mr. Carlemere could shed some light on why, if you can add to what I added, why there wasn't sidewalks in the southern part
I
of town.
probably couldn't add too much, except I believe that development goes back to the 70s, when they went before the planning board for approval. And the board at that time, as council president was stating, they waived sidewalks. Some areas they also
Really?
waived curbs.
That was
I
legal.
don't see that happen today, but that was happening then, and that's how that development and some other developments in the southern end of town were built without requirement for sidewalks to be put in.
Well, I really do hope you guys really look into finding a playground for our children.
May I ask you a question, Ms. Johnson?
Sure.
You indicated that there was 4 playgrounds in Brittany Woods.
Yes.
What happened to those 4 playgrounds?
You guys tore them down.
All right. None of us.
Not you.
None of us were here to tear it down.
You were
but
there.
they were torn
Okay,
down?
you weren't there.
Were
You
they-
were in high school, wherever you were. They tore them
Were
down.
they underutilized?
Pardon me?
Were they underutilized? Were people?
No, they just tore them down. Aston Woods was built across the street on Prospect.
Okay, were those playgrounds within Brittany Woods? Or
Mhm.
they were in
Yes,
there? Okay,
yes.
They were in Brittany Woods?
Yes.
So what is there now?
Nothing's there. Like I said, we have no playgrounds for our children. There's no place for them to play. And I've been doing research on the internet, not just for Gloucester Township, but in other communities across the country, where what playgrounds do for children. And the things that those playgrounds are doing for children, where people got together and built playgrounds, it enhanced the children, the community, and everything. In my community where I live in Brittany Woods, the children play on abandoned property. They play football. They can't play in the street. They travel 35 miles an hour coming down the street. We have near misses all the time. There's no place for the kids to play, so they play on private property. They destroy private property. We call the police. They come out. Their hands are tied. They're really good guys when they come out. But there's really nothing they can do about it, because what are they going to do? You don't have a playground. Where do you send them?
Cheryl?
Yes.
Ma'am, I grew up on Laurel Road in Timber Creek, and my buddies across the street were in Linden Hill. We had playgrounds.
Okay.
We never played them.
And you never played?
We never played in the playgrounds, ever.
Well, our kids do.
Nah, they don't.
How come
They,
they
how,
can't go
how,
to these
how,
temple
how can you
lots?
tell me that our kids don't play in a playground, and no playgrounds have
I'm
been
just
there
telling you.
for 12 years?
We're not swinging on the swings when we were kids. We weren't doing it.
Well, the children in my neighborhood have no
Maybe-
place to play.
Maybe the kids who are of tender years
Mhm.
may be at the playground. But the rest of us, we move past that playground pretty quick.
So you're saying let them grow up without a playground?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to be real right here, okay?
And so am I.
Well, I'm telling you that we didn't play on the playgrounds.
So when I talk to the children on the street,
What age?
and they're from ages 6 to 10 years old.
6 is good. 10's good. So long as we're quantifying that age group, 6 to 10.
6
yeah,
to 10
they're
years
still
old.
there.
That's what's
Yeah.
moving into Brittany
Okay.
Woods.
Yeah, they're there.
And they ask, how come we don't have a playground?
I agree.
Where is the playground?
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
question. You said there were playgrounds?
Yes.
What's on the lots where the playgrounds were?
Trash, debris, you name it,
So
overrun.
that could be a project for the children possibly to clean up because instead of them playing on the abandoned house lots, like would that be something we could work with you all to clean up so those kids can play there?
Well, there's like 4 corner properties in Brittany Woods that's just about as big, half the size of this room. It's just covered with trees. And this was years ago, Mayor Love came out and they cleaned that lot off, and that was it. And now it's overgrown. And there's several lots like that. And I'm saying, a lot that size, they could put a tire park there. It's tires. All they want to do is climb, someplace to climb, to swing, to exercise, besides playing in the street, dodging cars.
They will not allow you to install tire parks.
What are you saying, sir?
They will not allow you to install tire parks any longer.
No?
No, they will not.
Well, how about stuff to exercise on?
And I can't, I don't want to comment on all four of the parks that were there, but I do know from talking to Bill Fagan, who pretty much runs our recreation program and oversees the parks, that one of the reasons we took down the park was because it was continuously vandalized. We couldn't keep up with it any longer. And I'll get some information from him as to what the history was on that.
Yeah, I would like to have that.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Ms.
it.
Johnson, if I can, Ms. Johnson, if I can just add to that, there are, as I said, I was on the planning board for 9 years, and there's times when new projects are coming in, and developers do not want to put a tot lot or a recreational playground in that particular area, and residents are in favor of it because they don't want children congregating, or they say, well, we have a backyard, they can go to the backyard, they can go to a particular recreational area. But there are individuals that, there are some neighborhoods that don't want, they have an existing recreation facility or tot lot in their neighborhood, and they would want that removed because there are individuals that are hanging out there that they don't want them hanging out there at all times of the evening.
I can understand that.
But what you're telling me is that this is something that the community wants. So when I go visit your coffee, tea, sip, and talk, let's take a walk. Okay. Informal attire for that?
It is.
Okay, come as you are? Okay. All right.
I'm a gym girl. I do have one question for Ms. Johnson. With the open space, and Ms. Carr, you brought up initially about children cleaning up around the community for Martin Luther King Day, and I know, Ms. Schreiber, you just brought up also bringing out a community type of, pride in being able to do something like that and organizing a project, which I think is a great idea to get the kids involved so that they feel that pride in their neighborhood. But if it's a possibility, if we're looking at a space that can be cleared, if it just gets the community enthused, that maybe it's something, I can't say anything, but maybe it's something we could look at, just getting that started. So I think that was a good.
And what is your name?
And just trying to.
Orlando, you can call me Orlando.
Mr. Orlando, when you come for the tea, I'll take you to the place where you can build the park.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
I just want to add to Shirley, because in speaking when we first met, that's definitely her pride for the kids to have something to do. Like, that's her project, that seems to be her baby. I've heard, and I have to address one other question one of the members of our action group would like to get resolved, but that's definitely a passion of hers. And the tire park, I remember the tire park. I used to take my kids there all the time, but it is definitely a concern, and that's why we're having discussions about what kids can do, kids clean. As we mentioned, I don't want to repeat myself, but it is our discussions, and that's why we're talking and drinking coffee. And we also have a contractor that I had that repaired my house that sat in with us, and I'm asking him to do some volunteer work. I'm asking him to, I don't know if there's any monies that he can contract through the township. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just all conversation. Until we start talking, we're not going to get anything. We can fuss all day, but until we start really talking together, we're not going to get anything done. And that includes the kids. We're going to survey the rest of the community. We're going to do flyers. We're going to tell them when trash pick up, when to pick up refrigerators and mattresses. And they don't know. They don't know. They're renters. They're coming in. They don't know these things. So until they get that information, it's not going to get better. We can talk all day. But I just have one other thing that I want to add is that the culture. When I walk into a school district or a school, we have a culture. So there's a culture in Brittany Woods. And what's happening is that the sanitation department is seeing that culture. And one of the comments, and I don't know if it's true, one of the comments was, you're not taxpayers, we're not going to pick that up. can you get this? Can you pick this up? But you're not taxpayers, so we don't do that.
Ms. Grace, when you say
So-
the sanitation department, do you mean
The
waste
trash,
management?
waste management, yes.
Okay.
Am I saying that correct?
All
Yeah.
right, well, Waste Management is a contractor.
Contractor.
That works through the township.
Okay.
And I will ask Mr. Cardis, who works closely with them, to ask them that question because
Old term sanitation.
Mr. Cardis is our township business administrator.
Okay.
They
Yes,
know-
and that was my question, because I know I work with Jen, and I know she does zoning, and I know she talks to the mayor, and I don't know if she talks to you guys, but who can have that conversation with them, that it doesn't matter whether you're taxpayers,
They're picking up the trash.
you're picking up the trash, exactly.
You're the first person that told me this.
Yes, so that was, I want to make sure my members understand that I am really addressing their issues and that someone is going to take care of that. I don't have my glasses on, I really can't see anyone's name. What's your name?
Tom.
Tom. Okay. Okay.
Ms. Grace, is there a neighborhood watch?
Jill has been working on that, and of course, the neighborhood watch members are private, so I won't discuss who those members are. But yes, she still works with us, and I think there's a meeting like every month or something. Yeah. So, but everybody has secret codes. I actually delivered those codes to those people, and again on Hampshire, and my kids are in their late 20s, early 30s. So I don't see the same things they can see because they're more street savvy than I am. But drug activity is different today than it was back in the 80s. It used to be you stand on the corner, you sell drugs, you knew who the drug dealer was. Apparently, if that's happening in our community, we can't see it. Shirley doesn't see it on her street, I don't see it on my street. And honestly, my street is where I'm located is always quiet. I've been there back since August of 2015, and it's quiet. It's just quiet. So I can't tell you about crime and drug activity or problems. I have not seen a fight. I haven't seen any of that stuff. What I'm seeing is a dirty neighborhood, and that needs to be cleaned. Okay, thank you. Have a great night.
Mr. Polidoro?
Ray Polidoro, Ariel. Just shed a little light on what these young ladies are talking about. Back when the tire park was there, it was felt to be an indestructible park. No matter what you did, the kids could not destroy it. That's why it was a favorable park. They were made of very thick industrial tires. It was a shame that had to go away because you just couldn't beat it. The kids couldn't beat that up. Nobody could beat that up. At the same time, on that bend in Hampshire was the last of the swings and the any type of playground that was there. On the breezeway, as you go around the corner, was the last of it. When you ask what happened to it, it basically, over time and age, it fell apart. And Township came in and cleaned up what remained of it. It was thought back then that something else was going to happen in Brittany Woods because the folks were asking, and I also remember a former council person asking about the southern end and putting the recreational facilities in these particular playgrounds. I think there was a money issue at the time. And also, let me refresh your memory. We had about a 3-year-old playground, a set of playground equipment here. It was only a couple of years old. Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. It was a really beautifully built playground. And I think it was a few years later that it was found that it was pressure-treated lumber and had to be changed out. Am I correct? Some type of hazard to this only a few-year-old park. It was when those folks were here asking for some...
At one point, I believe there were tires out in this park.
I remember tires, but I also remember that being rehabbed into something else.
That had to come down. And then we built, there was a green playground structure, which was there for a number of years. And then finally, we just replaced that with what's out there now.
But I did remember one being fairly new, that we found out there was something not quite right with it that had to be replaced. It wasn't that much different a time when the folks in the southern end were asking for that rec center, or that just recreational playground equipment in Brittany Woods. It was only a few weeks later that, I believe it was around $45,000 got put into this park. Now, one other thought that may come to mind, and this is where the power of the government may work hand in hand with the community. Listening to the conversation and dialogue go back and forth, I don't know what kind of policy or procedure it's got to go through for the township to do this, but maybe thinking about getting in touch with the people at Lowe's, who are very generous in their community, and finding out if Lowe's would like to put a couple of playgrounds in Brittany Woods, and by their namesake call it Lowe's Park, because those people will know what type of equipment that is indestructible. And it does matter just how old you are when you play in a playground, because that's the years that you're developing into what you're going to turn into. And when you're 16, you may still play on the playground. Not necessarily. You may hang. There may be a young lady there that you're hanging with. Whatever the case may be, there's always the attraction to the playground for all its definitions. And I think possibly Lowe's would be interested in a project like this because they're here in Gloucester Township, they're here in the southern end, and maybe we could look into the possibility of putting a Lowe's Park or two in the southern end, because there really has not been much. You know, sidewalks is a luxury down the southern end, and we have a high school and middle schools, but this park would mean a lot. And it's a shame that we couldn't do it when we had the opportunity in the meantime while we were doing that. But maybe you think about getting with Lowe's and the township, do something with putting that playground or two in there, because there's more than one area that those playgrounds could go. And an indestructible one at that, because Lowe's is going to have their name on it. We would think that they'd want to have that for a while.
Thank you for your
You
comment.
want us to borrow money to put that playground in? Just curious.
Lowe's is a community home improvement store that would donate that
If they don't,
in their name.
if they don't donate, would you like us to borrow money to put that in?
Borrow money? I think you've got enough money that you can find it. This young lady pointed out where you can save 10% here and 10% there. You're being funny. There's no way you could possibly be serious about a serious subject like that and borrowing. There's a way. There's always a way. Because you know what? The final product is not about watching on cameras or what's going to be. It's about what these kids turn out to be. And those are a lot of years that they're missing. The next generation could benefit from that. Just check with Lowe's. I think it's a great idea, and I think you can pull it off.
All right, thank you, Rick. Anyone else? Ms. Carr?
Joanne Carr, Timber Birch. Last time I promised. Just a comment about televising the committee meeting. Most of you know my dad, and I have dinner with him every night, and I shout to him and tell him what I'm going to be doing and where I'm going. As I was leaving tonight, he goes, "I wish I could go, but I can't, because he can't hear worth a dime." And he says, "If it were on television, I could turn it up, turn it all the way up." I mean, he's going to be 96 years old. He doesn't do the internet, but he's got his brain. The eyes are going, the hearing's gone, but he's got his brain, and he would be participating here more than I if he had access. So if you continue to discuss it back and forth, I know you have your reasons why, but this is just another reason why you could have it televised. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The gentleman with the bow tie.
Hi there, Matthew Wilson, live in Dunley. I just want to confirm, the remaining funds left over in the open space that you mentioned earlier, has that been allocated yet?
It will go towards the cameras. We'll pay for the cameras out of those monies. I would say some of it is allocated, some of it probably will be remaining at year end.
And that rolls over year to year?
It rolls over.
Okay, so maybe you can save up for a couple years and build a park. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Sweet, that'll be our last comment of the evening.
By the way, that's what we do, though. You know, that's exactly what we do. We built the hockey rinks, which are servicing how many kids per year?
About 900.
About 900 kids a year. We built the artificial fields throughout the town, which are a huge success. And how many kids are benefiting from that? Anybody have any idea?
TBA has over 1,000, Highland has close to 1,000, GT Stallions about 350.
So to
Hockey,
answer your question, when the money does roll over, that's where it's going. I mean, this is not somebody's piggy bank. This is being used to really provide some benefit to the children of the community as a whole, not segregated areas. But I hear what you're saying, because I grew up in an area where we didn't have a lot of alternatives, and we did what you referenced the kids doing. That's what we did. We didn't have two parents in the house. We had one parent, and that parent went to work. So during the daytime, we did what the kids did. So I get it.
Mr. Sweet?
Sam Sweet from Ariel. Couple things in hearing the meeting. Why doesn't Brittany Woods get pink cans, recycle cans?
There was an issue with, from what Tom, you want to add? I thought, the impression I had was the MUA trucks navigating through the streets there, and then having the trash cans go through because there's large blocks of townhomes together, and having them go to the front of the property.
The streets are too narrow, and there's parking on both sides, and they could not get the automated arms in there to unload those.
Again, I'm just going to step out of my comfort zone, I guess. Is there any way they could get pink cans and put them in a designated area? Not to be funny, but like a park. But, I mean, like a designated area.
I couldn't tell you.
I mean, is that something that would help you guys?
All of those things are our discussions of, what to do about trash cans because it's a design flaw. We used to drag those trash cans through the house from the backyard, but, when they're old and they're dripping and we got a rug, people don't do that, so they're leaving them out front. And that was the reason given that, like you were mentioning, something about navigation. I don't know. These, again, is a larger discussion. Like, these are all issues on our table for us to see what we really should do about it. We came up with a middle ground, and we decided on, because there's such an overflow, once a week instead of once. Is it how often the
The cans are once every 2 weeks.
Once every 2 weeks. So we now have it once a week. I don't know when that's starting. I don't know if it started yet, but it's supposed to be every week now. So it's something. That's how I see it. And we'll work in the future to get it resolved so that possibly we can have, talking to the mayor, that's a major program where you're putting everything together. I forget what he calls it. Single string. Single string.
Single string.
Single string. He calls it single
You
string.
commingle everything together.
So he's very supportive of that idea. Would like us to have those pink cans, but for right now, apparently that was the reason given. So we'll resolve it as time goes. But we
And I
have to
think there's a couple
I don't know
other
if I don't know if the community as a whole knows these things, or when to pick up a TV, when to pick up a sofa, because I've seen sofas out there, I've seen TVs out there. I don't think they know, so we will do flyers and put that information on there.
They should be receiving our newsletter. That information is in the newsletter.
If I can get an extra copy of those, I will re-deliver them all again, just to kind of continuously remind people when things are done. I think it's just, again, about information.
And I believe the newsletter is posted to the township website.
Okay.
So it's accessible there also.
And if you don't have,
I think for a community
Okay.
like that, and you have a lot of rent, I think just a one-page something, a lot of people are going to read the small print in the newsletter. I think just one page, this is when you do this, and you can post it on your refrigerator, a magnet, or something we can do to let people know, if they move in, this is your pickup day. Because that's the major issue in our community, along with the dirty homes. You know, they're so dirty. And honestly, 411 cleaner, you spray that on your house, I don't know if it's legal, but you spray it on, you hose it, and it's off. But most people won't do that. It's a simple task. They won't do that. So yes, everything that we're talking about tonight about Brittany Woods, I hear that from a lot of people, a lot of my neighbors. Okay, yeah, I really appreciate it.
Mr. Sweet?
Mr. Hutchinson, I disagree with you on the playgrounds. Yeah, thanks, appreciate that. I saw the clock stop. I have to disagree with you on the playgrounds. I mean, I played on the playground and, grew up in a town where there were plenty of playgrounds, and I still played on them even up to the age of, 15, 16. I'm still playing on them, but, in a totally different way with my kids. Hurting afterwards, but that's besides the point. I mean, having a playground, it's a good place. I think we should definitely, or you guys should look into trying to see what you can do with that.
My point is, though, if we're talking about kids playing on the streets, granted, probably around 9 or 10 I was on the streets, but not before that, So I was really talking about an age group. You're not going to get those kids off the street. They're not.
I think you might be surprised if they had a centralized place to go. So,
But I agree. I think we've made a tremendous investment in this town in our youth. And I mean, nobody can deny that. Is it as isolated as Brittany Woods? I don't think we've made an isolated attempt at a particular location. This would be one of the first ones. I remember Mayapple. There's a playground, I think it's on Mayapple.
Yeah, Mulberry, Mulberry Station, where they don't want, we talked about it's underutilized and most people don't use it. So it depends on different neighborhoods about the need for it.
Last thing, if somebody's cyberbullying in school, they would come see you, correct? Or the
They
problem
will
with
contact the school district and speak to the anti-bullying specialist in their particular school. We have 11 schools. There are 10 anti-bullying specialists that support the 11 schools. They would reach out to the anti-bullying specialist, who's usually the guidance counselor. So if it's elementary school, there's only one guidance counselor in each elementary school, so they would go to the guidance counselor. If it's middle school, there's one. For instance, it's Miss Schmidt at Mullen, Mr. Fornes at Glen Landing, and in Lewis, it's Miss Joko.
all right, if it's an adult cyberbullying though, another adult, is that a police matter, or is that, how does that work?
Are these employees, or are they just parents?
Parents are cyberbullying another parent, a resident cyberbullying another resident?
The law, the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act is enacted to support, to protect children. So if there's children bullying other children, or if there's a adult bullying a children, when I say an adult, a staff member. But if it's an adult and an adult as an employee, that's a harassment issue. If they're not working for the school district, that would be a harassment issue.
So would that go to,
you would refer
that's
that
referred to Chief Earl or anything like that? Okay, that's all I have.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. We'll close the public portion. Polling of directors.
Chief Earl,
Nothing to report, thank you.
Mr. Parliament,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Campbell,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you very much for coming out. Speaking loud enough, right? I think it's Shirley and Carol.
Yeah.
Okay. A number of years ago, I took my children to, and I've mentioned this before, but not to you. A number of years ago, I took my children to a place on Gibbsboro Road, Arborwood. And we would start in the beginning of the development. We would walk all the way back. We would pick up all the trash near the trash cans, and try and make a difference. We didn't continue to do it, though. And I think that that's your biggest obstacle. Your ability to stay doing this, because this is not going to change in a month, a year, 5 years. It's, it took a while to get to where it is right now. I applaud you. Everyone up here applauds you. I am receptive to it. I may not agree with every one of your ideas, but I'll listen to every one of your ideas along with my council members, and we'll try and help you. We will. But congratulations for,
Start.
trying.
Thank
Okay?
you. That's all we ask.
Thank you very much for,
Ready.
thank you very much for
We've been
coming
asking
this
for a
evening.
very long time. I finally got here to talk about it face to face.
Mr. Schmidt?
I too would like to commend the
Good job.
women from Brittany Woods. First 3 years Mullen was open, I was a vice principal, and I was in Brittany Woods every day prior to school at every bus stop. So I realize your struggle, and I commend you on everything you're trying to do. I would like to thank everyone else for coming out and spending time with us.
Thank you.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Ladies, I'm glad you came out, and I hope you heard what everyone said here, and continue to come out and hold everyone in this room to their word, and their interest, and their focus, so that you maintain that from everyone that comes from the community, from council, that you stay on point, keep it moving. And everything that was mentioned, you hear the support from the township, not just from council, but from the community, in recognizing the importance of the solidarity of the community. So keep coming, keep it moving, keep it going.
Well, I have a question to ask you, no leaving.
Yeah, no more questions, this is just my time of comment.
In the summer of.
Miss Johnson,
Miss Johnson.
Miss Johnson,
in our program,
Miss Johnson.
Can we have
Miss-
like a hot dog hamburger there?
We're done with that, Ms. Jones.
We thank you.
Anyway.
Maybe we can get you a barbecue.
Anyway, yes. But anyway, ladies, I just
Thank you.
continue and hold
Yeah,
everything
we
down.
will, definitely. I'm enjoying being back. I could be a dull resident, I could move, but it's just something dear to my heart that I see. And I just feel like as a social worker, that we're here to make a difference. That's just my training, my background, and that's what I do. I help people. So,
Ms. Stubbs?
but we do it all together. We gotta do it all together, okay? So that's why
Ms.
we're
Stubbs, do you have anything else to add?
Well, they finished it for me.
Mr. Mignon?
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your comments. For Ms. Johnson and Ms. Grace, I do look forward to the coffee, tea, sip, walk. But I have one thing I need you guys to do, and that is to round up all the kids in that development. Because myself would like to challenge one of my council members up there to be a steady quarterback and have a football game amongst all the kids, and somebody up here be the quarterback. So raise on your arms. The other thing is,
Athletic individual on this council. Go ahead.
we'll see. The other thing is this proclamation tonight about lung cancer awareness. Any opportunity that I get to talk about my mother, I will. 14 and a half years ago, this dreaded disease took my mother's life. So I'm very, I don't want to say I'm happy, but it's very nice that lung cancer it's got its awareness. But let's beat this thing. It stinks. Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Estrada?
I just want to say thank you all for coming out, and ladies, I appreciate your comments. I don't want to essentially beat a dead horse. I think everybody has said, as much as they can, but we are interested in working with you, and I hope that it's something that continue on into the future. So thank you all. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
I want to thank everyone for coming. Oh, no, we had to listen to you, Miss Grace, Miss Johnson. Don't listen to us now. I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. A few things. 2 weeks ago, we had our third annual trunk or treat that was here at Veterans Park. And we had thousands of kids that went through that park. And we had volunteers, about 53 cars that had volunteered taking money out of their own pocket to provide candy to the thousands of kids that went through the park. We had hay rides, we had DJ, all of that was volunteered. So I want to thank the volunteers who we will recognize at a council meeting and thank them. Also our police department who worked so well with us and made sure that everyone was safe. We lost a kid for about 3 seconds, and that was it, and he was found. So with having thousands of kids in the park, that's a wonderful effort there. And also our Public Works Department, who had helped us with our hay rides and making sure that the park looked great, and there was plenty of lighting there. So I want to thank the community that came out to support that. Thanksgiving is coming up, and I want to wish everyone a great Thanksgiving. And lastly, to address the park situation and the issues you had at Brittany Woods, I grew up in a small little town in Gloucester County, Swedesboro. We didn't have anything. We didn't have much to do. And we used to go to neighboring towns to play baseball or basketball because they had better facilities. And back then, they had the sign, you can't play here unless you get permission from the Board of Education. So we were the kids that get chased away. We just wanted to play. We hopped the fence to play. That's all we wanted. Play ball, play a little baseball. That's all we wanted to do. Play football on a big field. So I understand the need to have something in your neighborhood. I appreciate that we're having that conversation tonight. And as I said earlier, there are people in neighborhoods, and going back to saying I grew up in Swedesboro, there's a city that's not far away from here, near the base of the Ben Franklin Bridge, Camden City. And I had an opportunity to work there for 7 years. And I had the same impression of that city. I grew up in the country. Oh, Camden's scary. And, you would hear the them people and those people, the code words that people use. And I got involved with the Puerto Rican parade there. In fact, I had a meeting there before I got here. And I realized the first year I started working with them, I said, there are some very good people that live here that want to make their community a better place, but they're stuck. But they make the best out of it. They want to enhance the community. They want people to think better of people, to enhance the way that people think about them and the people that live there. And I appreciate you coming here today, bringing that to our attention. There isn't lip service. You're not getting lip service from us tonight. I guarantee you we'll be at coffee, tea, and sip. Okay? I don't drink either one of them. Give me something else, like lemonade. Okay? Right? Miss Kelly knows. I drink lemonade.
Text me your
Okay.
what you drink, and we will
All right.
definitely make sure you have it.
But I do appreciate you coming out and sharing your thoughts with me. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's his bucket list.
I'm so inspired now that you spoke.